how interval is different from the ordinal, and how ratio is different from all these three. And then we have just done this exercise of number of identification of variables. So now we'll go to another exercise, which is another session, which is on the data management. So this is very, very, very important. Rather, I should say, before you start analyzing data, uh, this is the most important. I think this got closed. And we have shared these data set with you. So we'll see how. I'll again announce before we go to the breakout room what all sheet to be used while you are performing the analysis. So now we'll see the basics of the data management and data handling and data entry. So now we want to give one analogy between the operative management versus the data management. So many of the clinicians, they are the surgeon, and how do they prepare a patient? So it starts with the pre-anesthetic checkup. So the patient goes to the PSC clinic, they sees all the components, the tests, and then they give approval for fitness. And it might take few hours to few days depending on the tests and the status of the patient. Then what happens? That person goes to the OT, and then there is a surgery. And again, OT may run from 1 to 10 hours depending on the complexity of the case, and it might get delayed also. And then the next stage is your patient is like in the post-op period, and he has started recovering. And it may continue for months or years till the patient gets the complete cure. This is the operative management. Now, coming to data management, the first step is the cleaning of data. So whenever you receive any sheet or even your own data sheet or your PG's data, so whenever you see that, you see that, that cleaning of the data, it may take hours or days also, because if the data is very, very, very unclean, it takes like many times the person has to enter the data afresh. And I think many of you have experienced this, like it takes time. The next step is analysis, which is very quick. If your data is clean and sheet is clean, it doesn't take like more than half an hour to perform the analysis. Analysis all depends on the clean data sheet. And then comes your post-analysis period, which is generally the publication. It again takes from months to years, depending on the journal which you choose, and depending on the quality of your manuscript. So it is again a time-taking process. So like the surgery of the patient, if the patient is fit, the recovery is also quick. And in the OT also, it doesn't take much of the time if the case is not complex. Similarly, if the data is very clean, the other two processes, that becomes a relatively easy. So now both the skills are highly focused approach. Both are equally engaging and enjoyable. The only difference is there is no Control Z option in the OT. That means in the data management, you can undo and you can redo. But in case of operative management, you cannot do that. So now there are three processes of data management. The first step is the data collection plan. So I'll first talk about this data collection plan. So whenever you have got a research question, you've got a protocol. With that, we share a data collection plan also, and we have got a data collection tool. So you need to review that tool importantly and always pre-test that tool and have some data collected through your student or you yourself. If you yourself are doing the data collection, then you can go and collect that and then again sit and see how your data is coming. Like let's say 10 to 15 patients, and again revise your tool. Why? Because once you collect your whole data, and then if you find something which is not to be collected the way you have collected, then you cannot go to the field or to the patients again and collect it. So important is collect 10 to 15 data, sit with your guide or sit with someone who can just see. Don't go to the basic important point is this plan should be made ahead of the data collection. Generally, what happens that the students, they collect the data and then they come to for the analysis, whether it is an epidemiologist or it is a statistician, then it becomes very difficult for the person to do something. And then they request also like, please do something so that something significant comes. The p-value should be less than 0.05. But we always say that the result will come from the data. If the quality of data is not good, then no amount of statistical analysis plan can yield a good result. So that's why a lot of emphasis should be placed on this data collection plan. You should train your field investigator if you are doing a project well in collecting the data. In between also, you can have some data checks and you should keep on seeing the data regularly so that you can make corrective actions in the beginning, not after everything gets completed. So that should be there. The second is your data entry and the cleaning and coding, which we will learn here. And then your third step is your data analysis plan. So again, like we have emphasized time and again on this point, that if you want your experience of this data analysis very good, then you should have this cleanest possible data entry. So let's see some basic rules of clean data entry. So now, first is the starting point. So there are two ways of doing a data entry. You can have a direct approach, directly entering the data in Jamovi or SPSS or Stata, or you can use the Google Sheet or Excel sheet for entering the data. So we always recommend using spreadsheet or Excel sheet or Google Sheet for this purpose, because then you can import the data and it has got many advantages. So because you can import it in any of the software, many times if Jamovi doesn't have some option and that option is better in SPSS, again, you can import your data in SPSS or in some other software also. So that's why we recommend that, entry of the data in the Excel sheet or in the Google sheet. Now, there's one activity for you people. In this picture, what you can see. So there is a team A, which will be play in this, who will play in this ground, and there's a team B who will play in this ground, okay, ground 2. So team A is in ground 1 and team B is in ground 2. Now, if you see, if both the team has to play, they should play in one ground, okay. Now, this is like they both are playing in separate ground. Is a match possible in this situation? If they both are playing in the different ground, like team A is playing in one ground and team B is playing in the other ground. Is match possible in this situation? So Kirti, Jyoti, everyone is saying no. In this case, second case, if they both are playing in single ground, yes, then it is possible. So we'll see this analogy in the data which you people have entered. Now coming to this, this is just a 5 data set which we have taken here. So in case of a spreadsheet, what are the two components? So there is something known as the column. So this is a column. All of you agree? This is a column. Age is a column. Weight is a column. So now in the exercise of variable, you people have identified the number of variable, like the gender or the temperature or the comorbid situation, right? Each variable will be entered in separate column. Remember, each variable in separate column. Like you can see, gender has got one column, age again one column, height, weight again one column. Now, what is this row? So this row is for one individual or one study subjects. Like this is row 1 or ID. This is row 2, ID, second ID, and so on. So in row, what is there? In row, generally, you have got one individual. So how I can say that? So if I talk about ID1, ID1 is a male, 22-year-old, weighing 67 kg, having height of 160 centimeter, perceiving a pain score of 4, pain status is severe, and he's a smoker. Similarly, if I'm talking about this case number 2, she's a female of 31-year-old age, weighing 54 kg, having a height of 155 centimeter, perceiving a pain score of 4, which is severe, and she is a smoker. So each row is for one study participant or for one study subjects. And each variable is one, each column is one variable. So please remember, whether it is Jamovi or Excel or any software, remember this concept of column and row. You will find it very silly talking to me like this, like I'm talking so simple things like column and rows, but it's our experience that students many times they come, I'll show you, they enter the variable in the row and individual data in the column, and that too very random, where you cannot transpose the rows and columns also, because in Excel there is an option of transpose rows and column where you can do that, but that is also so erratic and that is random that you cannot do that also, right? So remember, each column is for one variable, each row is for one individual. Now, this is a non-coded data. Why it is non-coded? Because I have written here in words. Wherever you will see in variables that things are written in words, that means we have not coded. Coded means it will always be in numbers. Like male, female, you can see I have written M and F. Pain status, I have written like severe, mild. Smoking, I have written yes and no. So this is a non-coded data. Coming to this, now you can see this data is coded because I have given 1 and 2 to this gender. And again, this pain status, I have written 3. And this smoking habit, I have given 1 to yes and 0 to no. So again, I cannot see in this table, everything is in number. So whenever you see a data and everything is number, that is numbered, that is known as the coded data. You should have a coded data sheet. Again, you can write those codes on a separate sheet if you are sending that data to someone else for analysis. Or if you are analyzing your data on your own, again, you can keep a sheet of the reference sheet. In Excel sheet, you can have one more sheet added, because if you yourself see after 30 days or 15 days or 2 weeks, you might forget what code you have given. Like one is for gender is what? Male or female, or nominal, again, you might forget. So you can have that sheet ready with you. Again, this you can see, this is a uncoded entry. So you can see here, like if I'm writing like feeling nervous, anxious, or on edge, this is the question which you people have answered. And if you have answered like this more than half a day, this is in words. So this is an uncoded data entry, and calculation is not possible. If I have to calculate the total score, I cannot add this, and this, because these are in words. So if your data is not coded, you cannot have a calculation. So all the data entry that should be coded. This you can see, this is a coded. So now I can add that. So I can add this 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1. So this is 6. Similarly, I can add this 1, 1, 2, and 2. This is again 6. So I can add this, and this will give me the total PHQ-4 score, on the basis of which I can classify whether there is a depression or no depression. Now this is the data of, I think this is the same, no, not the same data set, but this is one data where you can say there are two groups. So there is one intervention group and one control group. So this is group A. So what problem you can see in this data entry? We'll show your own data also, what you people have entered. Yes, so can you write in the chat box? What is the problem with this data? Can you find any problem with this data entry? This is for group A and this is for group B. Okay, so this is on a separate sheet. So it was a randomized control trial. Group A was a control group, group B was an intervention group, but the person has entered the data into two separate sheets. Dr. Sunil is writing BP, symptom, blood pressure. Okay. So BP, you can see like it is 112 in slash. It is written like that. Symptoms also in all in one. So this was group B. Now we have sent that resident saying that please bring both these sheets together. Remember the analogy of two team playing match in two different field. Then the match is not possible. Similarly, if you enter your data in two different Excel sheet, group A in one and group B in two, the analysis is not possible. So we have sent that student back as saying that please bring these two data into one sheet. So what he has done? He has entered this group A here, that was already there. Group B, he has copy pasted just below this. So yes, what is the problem? Can we do the analysis now with this modified data sheet? No. Dr. Surbhi is writing no. Yes, we cannot perform the analysis. So now again we have instructed that student. So what he has done? So he has given a name here. All group A. First he has entered all group A and then he has entered group B. So is it needed like this? So do you have to wait? Because in any randomized control trial, you have got both the arm together, running together. So will you wait for all the control group at one place and intervention group at one place? Is it needed like this, the way he has done? A all and B all together? No, it's not. Why? Because you enter whatever is the situation. So you enter the data according to the person who has come to you. So one, if he's a case or a control, you just label whether it is in A or B, right? So this he has done. But again, there were issues with the data. So we again sent that student back and we asked him to come with the modified one. So what he has done, now he has arranged this like A, B, it is not. But again, there are issues with the data set. Like you people have said, symptoms and BP. So what he has done, he has put like symptom 1, symptom 2 and symptom 3. And he has put like 2 columns for systolic blood pressure 1 and 1 for diastolic blood pressure. But again, he has put like symptom 1 fever. But this is crisscross. Here, this is cough. Cough is here also. Cough is here also. And swelling is here also. Swelling is here. So it is crisscross. So again, you cannot compare the frequency if you enter the data like this. So what he has done now, so he has done this like fever, yes and no, cough, yes and no, swelling, yes and no, body ache and others. And similarly, but he had calculated the BMI. So even that is not needed for each and everyone. You can calculate the BMI at the end. But now this data sheet is very clear. So this is some real example of data set. We can see. So this is some real example of the data set. So you can see this. We received this sheet. This was from the microbiology department. So you can see like what they have done. They have taken the E. coli, the colony count and multiplication factor at various time points like 0 hour, 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour and 8 hour. And here we need to perform the repeated measure. So for that, you can see like they should have been in the separate column because one variable, what we have discussed, one variable, one column. So it should have been, this 0 should have been come here then 1 hour, then 2, and these all things like count in chamber, this should have been in the row because that was describing the one. So all this time point and count, this should have been in a separate, like he should have done that like 0 hour count number, then 1 hour count number, then 4 hour count number, similar to that. Similarly, if you see the multiplication factor, this 2 into 10 to the power n. So if you see something like that, where there is a words and there is a number both together in one column, then analysis is not possible. So either they should have done like they have replaced this with some code. So this type of data you cannot analyze. And this is like you can say replicate 1 and replicate 2. So again, they could have done like what we do, like case and control. So this replicate could have been one variable where replicate 1 was 1 and replicate 2, whatever it was, they should have described that. So this is again one data set where it was not possible for us to perform the data. And they have, the wonderful part of a statistical software, whatever you give, the command, the computer will give you some output. Okay. But then he came with that output and he was asking us like, please interpret it. But what will you interpret when you don't know what you have entered in the, what you want to do? So that's the problem, because computer will give you some fancy tables and some, diagrams. So he has performed, I think, repeated measure ANOVA, where he came with many graphs and he was asking like how to interpret these graphs. Then we realized that this whole data entry is an issue. And then we have requested him to change everything, and then the analysis was possible. So that's why I say data entry should be with caution. And if you have not done the correct data entry, the analysis is very difficult. This was the second example which you can see here. This was, he has entered that student, the whole question as a variable. You can see this he has entered in the Google form. So the responses which came like on a scale from strongly agree to strongly disagree. So no, it should have been like question number 1, question number 2, question number 3, something like that. Because if your variable is so big, that output or the result which you will get, that will also be very huge, and you cannot like put it that way. And again, if you write so much, the file becomes very big. And analysis also, it takes time because it takes time in buffering. So that is there. Dr. Sumant is asking time point. So time point, I just said here. Time point, whenever you have like temperature, simple. How we have identified temperature as a tool, like the exercise which we have. I'll just show you with this example. Okay, this was some other exercise, na? Let me show you. Concept of variable.
Understood.
I'll again go back to that slide. Can you recall this exercise? Temperature, morning and evening. Okay. So temperature, time point, there is no true zero. So can you unmute and ask a specific question, because I'm not able to understand whether you want to use as a repeated measure data as a variable, or you want to do as a ratio scale, or what? Dr. Sumant?
Hello, ma'am. I just wanted to understand how do you, in the spreadsheet which you have given, I want to know how to put that, because the time, if it is 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour, all of the hours should come in separate columns, right?
Yeah. Let me. I was. So you are talking of this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So this time point should have been like in separate. See, these all are what? Like time point 0 hour. That person should have entered like at 0 hour, what was the count?
Yes.
What was at 0 hour multiplication factor? So these many variables will be multiplied by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Like at 0 hour.
It should come as separate columns.
Yeah, count in chamber at 0 hour, multiplication factor at 0 hour,
Okay.
this application at 0 hour, net count at 0 hour, log value at 0 hour. Then again, the same thing will be repeated for 1 hour. Count
Okay.
in number in 1 hour, multiplication factor in 1 hour.
Okay.
Similarly for 2 hour, because you need to identify the variable, right?
Okay.
So each time point is a one
Okay.
variable.
Okay.
So that's
Okay,
what
ma'am.
is important. So like temperature, we have shown now, temperature in the morning and temperature in the evening. These are two
Yes. Yes.
separate variable. Like what is the
Yes.
temperature? Similarly, this 0 hour, all the variables, so this will be multiplied by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 25 columns will be there. Okay. Did you get it? And similarly, species could
Yes,
have
ma'am.
been written, species could be another variable. Like, can you see E. coli ATC 25922? Control where the MIC is 0.5 and this thing. That should have been one variable. Whether MIC on the concentration of MIC, right? Again, like we write cases and control. Similarly, this replicate is also there. So this is again same thing getting repeated. So whether it is replicate 1 or replicate 2, that would have been another variable like cases and control. So replicate one column, and then whether this is in one, like replicate 1 or replicate 2 similarly. Have you understood, Dr. Sumant?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
Dr. Sweta.
Yes. Yes.
Dr. Sweta Mangal, have you raised your hand?
Yeah, ma'am. Actually, that was the previous slide where you had talked about coded entries.
This one?
No, more back, like where we coded some of them, coded and uncoded. Yeah. So actually, here the whole data set is non-coded. But in the next slide, if we go, can we just, yeah. Ma'am, here should not we code these also? Age, weight, height. They are okay numbers if we are going for coded
If you
entries.
go back to the concept of variable. So age, weight, and height, these are which type of variable? Are they a categorical variable or a continuous variable?
Continuous ones.
So continuous, there's no need to code. What do you mean by coding? Coding
Like,
is you give number to the trait, right? Because
okay.
gender is how do you define yourself? You say that you are a female, but if you write female here, there will be some there are some data analysis thing where you might have some difficulty, okay, if you write female. So that's why you give 1 to female and 2 to male. But since age, weight, height, inherently they are in numbers. So then why will you code it?
Okay, I got confused, like as you told in the previous slides that we can like put it in an interval type of thing, like 20 to 21 to 25. So
I said that should not be done.
yeah, okay.
Why not
Got
should be done? Because there are, if you want to perform regression on your data set, or if you want to perform something which needs a continuous nature of data, then you have already lost that data because since beginning you have categorized. And this is a very common problem which we often encounter with even our PG students. This happened with one of my PG. In spite of telling him, he has calculated the age and income of all the people who are coming to the dot center in categories. So like if you are taking the income like less than 3,000 to 6,000, and he was doing a research on this, incentive which the person gets. So that analysis became really difficult and then you cannot go back. So I emphasize that category 20 to 30, 30 to 40 of age, that should not be collected as such. You should have the age, the absolute number, and then you can make any category which you like. You can have a 5-year interval, like 20 to 25, or you can have a 20 to 30. That freedom you have. But
okay.
since beginning, you should never collect a continuous nature of data into a category, because that 20 to 30 is a category. That's not a continuous data. Am I making myself clear
Yeah.
to you?
Yeah, ma'am. I got confused. Like I thought when it is a coded sheet, then we need to code each and everything. So, but yeah, we don't need to code each and everything.
Coded means in literal thing, you can say like everything should be in numbers in Excel.
Mhm.
If something is already there in number, like height, weight, age, you don't need, because that's there, that's coded, that value is already there in that ratio or interval scale. But something as a qualitative, which is like pain, if like mild, moderate, severe, or the scale which we have given to you, like PHQ-4, not on every day, mostly on every day, like sometimes. If you write that word, you cannot perform the analysis because you need to have a total score. And if you are writing in Word, you cannot add, like it should be in numbers if you want to have perform mathematical functions and statistical functions.
Yeah, got it, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else who is having any other confusion in this data entry? We will show you the all the data set which you people have entered. So yes, this was again one example. Again, you can see what is the problem with this data. These are all data set which we have received. That's why many times we keep these data just to demonstrate in the workshop. What is the problem with this data? Can you show the clean sheet for that microbiology? Dr.
Okay.
Jyoti, we don't have that actually. Means we performed the analysis on that person's thing and we did not ask, but we may ask from him and we'll show. But currently I don't have. Yes, what is the problem with this data? Again, SBP and DBP missing value, BP, yes. You can see like there are some active sedentary. They should have been coded. Yes and no should have been coded. And this BP. Yes. This is one data point which Dr. Sunil has pointed out. True. But the main issue is these can be corrected. This can be corrected in single this thing. Missing data also, we will tell you how to deal with the missing data. But this BP should have been in the separate column. This, what is the problem with this data set? This again we received from pediatric department. They were doing one research on seeing the hand hygiene technique of like having a control group. The other group was a reminder plus spy technique. Spy technique is like observing them without telling them. And then other was a spy technique. So there were there were three arms. Okay. You can see control group, reminder and spy technique, control, spy technique. So yes, what is the problem? Just see this data and tell us what is the problem. This was the data which we received. Coding was necessary. Okay. Agree. What else? Each variable. Yes, very right. So now, can you identify? Let's come to this variable, designation. So nursing officer and female, both in one column. Doctor and female, nursing officer and male. So designation should be designation and gender. So designation should have been like nursing officer or doctor. And then gender should be like male or female. Agree, Dr. Neha? Coming to this, if you see just name, they have followed that person. So now every follow-up time is coming separately. Like this Pooja, you can see. She is coming in one row and again she is coming here. Right. Similarly, if you see Anju, Anju is coming here and again Anju is coming here. So they have not given any code. So in such case, it should have been a follow-up data. So they have collected that in the Google form. So every time the person is entering on the Google form, that is not in a sequence. So that should have been like first follow-up, second follow-up, and like that. It should have been in separate column, whether it is there in the row. So you cannot perform this analysis. Again, coming to this status of hand wash, I'm not clear. Before entering, he has entered like simple hand wash and proper hand wash. Both the two variable in single. You cannot do that. Even before touching simple hand wash, proper hand wash. So such type of data, even if you collect many data, like I think they have collected approximately 100 to 200 data. Yes. So that's very difficult to analyze. You need to do a lot of data cleaning and data rearrangement. And even if the person will, many time it is clear, but many time you don't know what is a simple and what is a proper. That was not clear. This was again one data which was from our own ICTC. Here the person has entered address like this. So like AIIMS Patna, Bihar, India, Gaya, Bihar, India. So all these address, we wanted to make a spot map like from where the HIV cases were being reported maximum. But if the address is like this, you cannot perform that analysis. So again, then we have asked that person to clean it. So again, he did like Janakpur, Nepal, Kodarma, Jharkhand. So then we asked him to make like separate district, then separate state. And then you can do that. This was again one data which we have received from the medicine department. What he has done, like he has entered this male gender here, age, and then he has written all the investigations, the value in one row. You can see ferritin, D dimer. This we received during COVID, but we always keep this data because you cannot expect someone entering data like this. But yes, there are like many people, there are quite a lot of variations how people understand this data entry and analysis. So there he has, and I think there were approximately 400 data. So you can imagine a person entering, a PG student or a senior resident entering 400 data like this, and at the end you come to know that nothing can be done with this data. So again, he sat again and then re-entered that data again. But you can understand the amount of time and energy one takes in. So that's what you should always consult. If you are not sure, please consult a person who can guide you how to collect the data. Because if that is not clear, the whole purpose of data collection, I think I should not say that it is futile, but it takes a lot of time to make that data fit for entry. Am I clear up till this point? Am I making myself clear to all of you? Okay. Thank you. So now we'll come to another topic, which is how to deal with, like, in one of the data set, I guess, with this data set, yes, many of you pointed out like there are missing data. So this you will also face. Like there are missing data or there are some data which are very erroneous, which are like an outlier. How to deal with that? So this was one, this is your own data which you people have entered, which we have shared one Google Sheet with all of you, and you have entered the data. So this was one like, this was one person. We have removed the name. I think we have given some code to it, and you can see one person has entered this 0. So monthly this expenses cannot be 0. So this is again an outlier. So what to do with such outlier if by mistake some person has entered like this? So you can do the data validation. There is an option in Google Form also where you can keep a check that at least minimum of this value should be there. Then only it will take the value. Otherwise, the form will not be submitted. So you can have some checks like that. We did not do it deliberately because we wanted to show this activity to all of you. So that's why we have kept it unvalidated. We have not put the checkpoints. So again, what will you do? So first is you have to, what you can do, option first is you can validate the data point. Means when you are collecting the data, you can put a check that less than that much should not be there. Okay. The second is you can remove this outlier. So you can remove this whole row from your analysis. But if the number of sample size is very huge, then even if you don't do this and you keep it as such, that is not going to make any difference. Third option is like you can replace this with median or mean, which is known as the data imputation. So like you can calculate the mean of monthly expenses and you can replace this 0 with mean if it is a normal distributed data. If it is a skewed data, you can replace this with median. So we have opted for this option. There are other methods like you can use the nearest neighbor value. So you can use another participants whose age and gender and state is same, and you can put that value here. Or there is another known as the Vensorization. This generally we don't practice, but that was given in the book. So that's why we are telling this, that you can use the 5th or 10th percentile value and you can replace with that. Or you can, if it depends on the number of missing values. If the number of missing values are more than 10%, then you can use a regression model or you can use a multiple imputation method. So in our case, either you can remove the outlier or you can replace it with median. So in our data set, which you people have filled, and we have given it to the students of AIIMS Patna also, the UG students, they have also filled the form. So we have replaced that with median, or you can replace that with nearest neighbor, which was 8,000, or 5th or 10th percentile. 5th percentile was 5,000, and regression value, you can calculate that. But generally, if the value is less than 10% missing data, then we don't do that, or we can leave it as such. There are other erroneous values were also there in the data set, like average daily water intake. So like by mistake, because we asked in ml, so one person has entered that in 25,000 and one person has entered this in 2. So this was again, you can replace this with mean. You cannot assume that this is 2 liter. I know that this is 2 liter, but again, the ways to deal with this missing data is to replace this with the mean. Again, screen time, you can see we have asked in the minutes, and that person has written 4 and 6. So you can replace this with mean. Similar with the physical activity. If someone has written 0, that is okay. But 1 minute will not be a physical activity. 1 hour. Oh, okay, 0 hour is okay. So this is hours of physical activity per day. No, 10 hours, 20 hours. So this one and this was an outlier. So this was in minutes, yes. And then the choice of method, which method are you going to use of dealing with the missing data, depends on your context of the study, on the size of the data set, or on the impact of analysis. So many times what you do, you perform the analysis, keeping that missing data and replacing that missing data. If it is not going to affect much, then you can report that. So this was the missing value. So what is imputation basically? So imputation is a process of replacing the missing or erroneous data with the substituted value. And this ensures that the data set remains complete and it can be analyzed. So there are various types of imputation. We have told you there is something known as the mean imputation, when you replace the missing value with the mean of the observed data. And you can use this when the data is not very much skewed. And second is your median imputation. So as the name suggests, when the data is skewed, you can replace this with the median imputation, or if your data set has an extreme outlier, you can replace that with the median. Mode again in case of a categorical data, like in case of a blood group. If one person is not written, the blood group I'll see like most frequent is the B. So the category showing the maximum percentage, I'll replace this missing with that percentage. So that is mode. Then next is there is a hot deck imputation. So hot deck is basically the way I have said you, like that neighborhood, you take the same state and same gender and then see what is the value, and then you can replace that with the value in your data set. That is known as the hot deck, and then something known as the cold deck. So what is a cold deck? You replace that data set with some national average, let's say NFHS data. So if I can use the NFHS data 5 to replace this, then this is known as the cold deck imputation. And then there is a regression imputation when I do the regression equation to replace that missing value. And multiple imputation method is a option. That means it is there. It is a statistical way. You have to click that and it replaces the data. That option is there in the SPSS also. In Jamovi, I think we have not explored that. But in SPSS, there is a way of multiple imputation method. And it is done when the missing data percentage is more than 10%. So this is important when to use that. So if the amount is low, that means less than 5%, then you can use simple imputation, mean, median, and mode. If the amount is high, like more than 10%, then you can use multiple imputation or regression. In between 5 to 10%, you can use any. It depends. So this was regarding the data entry and data management. Now I will show you your data entry. So let's see one by one. So starting with Ajay. So what Ajay did, you can see here, like he has entered group 1 here, yoga, name, and then he has entered group 2 here. Group 2 here and group 1 here. Okay. So now you know, again, there are issues. He has entered like 60 kg and centimeter. Unit should not be there whenever you enter the data. Again, symptoms, he has entered all symptoms by giving a comma. Also, years are written here. And BP, you can see BMI he has calculated. You can remove as though no need to calculate. You can do it at the end when you have entered all the data by putting the formula. And this is BP also. You can see here that BP he has entered all the diastolic and systolic together. This symptom too also. So this was the Ajay data. Coming to Abhas, he has entered like yoga and routine in one group. That was okay. Age also, gender, it was okay. But if you see here, the symptoms he has also entered. And BP, if you see, he has entered like 154, and I think this is colon and 88, something like that. So that should have been in the separate column. Coming to Alvas, he has, again, he did like Ajay, yoga separately and routine care separately. And this BP also you can see, he has entered like giving slash symptoms together. Here also like slash symptoms together. Coming to Ashwathi, Ashwathi has written correctly except this symptoms. So she has like put all symptoms in one, not separating that. Otherwise, it seems okay. All other data. Ayushi has entered. You can see BP together, both diastolic, systolic, and again symptoms together. Coming to Camellia. Camellia again entered this yoga symptoms first, yoga 2, and then this R is the routine. So in one. So it should have been like one column where she should have written like yoga and routine. The way I think Abhas has done it. Like this. So coming to Dharmesh. Dharmesh has like routine and yoga. This is okay. Again, symptoms all in one. So that should have been separately. This BP again in one. That should have been separately. Now Dimpy, what she has done, she has entered this yoga and this thing in 2 sheets. So yoga group she has made in 1 sheet. The entry is okay except for this BP. And then you can see like routine care group in another sheet. So this is again like 2 team playing in 2 different playground, because one is in Excel, one Excel, the other group in the other Excel. So that way it is not possible to analyze. Coming to Divya, I think Divya has done it correctly, except for symptoms. She has written like symptom 1 and symptom 2, where you should have, we'll see how to write that. Okay, so this was one issue, otherwise it was okay. Coming to Dr. Anju. So Dr. Anju has also done like one for sheet and the other for control. So like two team playing in two different playground. And again, you can see symptoms like she has kept all symptoms in one. So that way it will be difficult because one person can have headache also, fever also, and many other. Like, and similarly, BP also, it should have been like in separate column. Dr. Ponudhali has written the way our student has done yoga group and then by a separator, then routine care. Again, problem in analysis. Elsa has done it okay, but again symptom and BP. This was the persistent problem with, I think, many of you. Again, coming to somebody has not named it, but I think he has done it all correct. He or she, I'm sorry. Because you can see like he or she has written like headache, yes and no, fatigue, yes and no, anxiety, yes and no, and fever, yes and no. So this was like perfect. There was no error. All good, but we don't know the name. And then higher, again you can see symptoms together in one, BP again one. This should have been a different column. Hilda, again symptoms and BP, you can see. This in one, sorry, and this BP in one. Jyoti has done it all correct, except BP. She has like done this headache fatigue separately. She has colored also, that is good, but this BP should have been in separate column. Kajal, again, same problem, symptoms and BP. Coming to Krishnadev has done it like symptom 1, 2. They should have been like headache present, fatigue present, absent. But he has like SBP, DBP has entered differently. Mamta is like all okay, like symptoms in the same, anxiety, headache, and again BP in separate column. Mayur has done it like, okay, intervention, name, gender, but again symptom 1 and 2. They should have been like headache present, absent, anxiety present, absent. Coming to Dr. Nitin Ravindran, Dr. Nitin has done it correctly. You can see like group, age, gender, headache. Again, he has taken all the 4 symptoms in 4 column. And then yes and no. And then BP is also. So I think Dr. Nitin and one more person, they both have done it correctly. Neeti, again, the problem is with symptoms and only symptoms. The rest is okay. Parul, again, I think like this is up and down. Like she has entered up where it should be in the same. One is missing here. And then again, BP is should be in the separate column. Coming to Radhika, again, symptoms and BP. Rajesh, I think Rajesh has done it correctly. Male, female, yes, all correct. Shelly, same problem, symptoms all in one and BP. Dr. Sumant, again what he has done like symptoms 1, 2, no, it should be like 4 separate column, the way you have seen, and again BP in separate column. Sunil Kumar Singh, again he has done it correctly, but here symptom 1, 2, it should have been like headache present, absent, anxiety, fever and fatigue. Dr. Swapnil has done it, I think there are some missing values here and here. She has taken symptom. No, it should have been like headache, fatigue, anxiety. The rest is okay. Dr. Thilip, what he has done, he has put again the same. Anxiety, headache 2, headache 3. Like he has made combination. Anxiety and headache 1, 2 fever and headache in 3. So there will be many permutations and combinations. We don't need that. The best is to have entered this separately. Otherwise, rest is okay. Dr. Vignesh, I think correct. Yes, all correct. Headache, fatigue, anxiety, fever. Dr. Lopamudra, again, problems with the symptoms together in one and BP in one. Rest is okay. Okay, somebody has name he has not written, but somebody is again the same 2 sheets. Control sheet and case sheet. So that should not have been as a separate.
Finish.
Done?
Yes.
Okay. So this was the exercise which we have given to you. Now coming to the demonstration of basic Jamovi, right? That's the next exercise because then we have to tell them the descriptive. So descriptive after that. So now I'll show you the data set.
Okay.
Okay. Do you need 5 minutes break? I'm sorry. 5 minutes break? Or we should continue?
5 minutes break.
Okay.
4, 5.